is KION News Channel 546 at 6.
Good evening. We begin with more time here for people who owe rent payments that have piled up for them. The Biden administration now extending the federal eviction moratorium for another month. Thanks for joining us tonight for KION News at 6. I'm Veronica Macias. The eviction ban, originally set to expire in 6 days, it's now been extended until July 31st. The CDC says that this will also be the final extension for families. More than 6 million American households are still behind on rent payments and are at risk of being homeless this summer. KION's Jonathan Sarabia tells us how many Monterey County residents and families impacted here at home.
Veronica, about 3,600 residents in Monterey County have applied for rental assistance, but many residents across the Central Coast are seeking for help. Carmen Garcia is a Capitola resident and a single mother of 2. She says the pandemic has affected her tremendously. And after losing her job, Garcia found herself stuck with a pile of bills, including rent. Garcia is 3 months behind on rent and owes about $4,000. She says she isn't the only one. Several other tenants in her building are behind as well.
Entonces, ¿cómo le hacíamos?
I thought, how are we going to get out of this? We had to ask family and friends to raise enough money to pay rent, but it was still impossible to pay everything we owe.
Garcia has applied for rental assistance and is waiting for a response. Although the state has not extended the moratorium, Garcia says she's relieved to hear that the federal moratorium has been extended.
I feel relieved. I get to breathe a little. The fact that you're thinking that you have a few days left before getting evicted and then they tell you you have another month, you feel relieved. You don't have that burden for just a moment.
Garcia says her landlord has been supportive throughout this process, and although landlords can be supportive, they are also impacted.
Not having rent means that they don't have income for one of their primary assets, and of course they still have mortgages to pay. They still have property taxes to pay, and they still need to maintain the properties.
Managing broker Jan Leisure says her landlords are also empathetic because they're also being hit financially. And she says the moratorium created some loopholes for some tenants.
But some to take advantage of the situation and to stop paying rent just because they could, not because they needed to stop paying rent or because they lost their job, but just because the structure of the eviction moratorium allowed tenants to take advantage of the situation.
Veronica Leisure also tells me that some landlords are concerned because the federal and state governments are now coming up with some rent relief and assistance programs. She tells me they're afraid that in the future, tenants will simply wait for them to bail them out. And for those who really cannot afford rent, they have 1 month of reprieve. Veronica, back to you.